Trump is a master communicator. We all know that already, but Scott Adams breaks it down as Trump destroys Gavin Newsom. That's one example. I'm going to show you the entire history, not only of Trump destroying his opponents, but some presidents in the past and politicians who have said very rude things. Welcome to Doug In Exile. This is where the happy patriots are. And we observe this is political craft, and this is in defense of Trump and populism and why some of us are rude. Some of us are coarse. Some of us are not playing by the old, correct Buckley rules of debate anymore because it's worthless. Republicans lose, and that means we almost lost our country over those country club Republicans that didn't know how to make a fist. Watch. Scott Adams is going to intro this whole thing.
So here's another thing that Trump did, just sort of off the top of his head, that's going to have this lasting, major impact. Listen to this. So you all know how when Governor Newsom talks, he gets a lot of crap for his jazz hands.
Look, he calls them jazz hands. I think these are the creepiest things I've ever seen. I think he looks like a weirdo. He's doing like this. And they're not helping whatever he has to say. What's this? What's this? It's like, it's weird. Not just jazz hands, Scott Adams. This guy's creepy, fake and creepy.
And we don't know what that's about. Like his hands are a little too active. It doesn't look like he always did that. It's like a new thing with the jazz hands. So Trump says, he's talking about Newsom, and he goes,
You have an incompetent governor in California, Gavin. I know him very well. He's incompetent. He's a nice guy, looks good. Hi, everybody. How you doing?
And then he says,
he's got some strange hand action going. I don't know what the hell his problem is. It's a little weird, to be honest. There's a little something shaky going on there. But,
That's too good.
All right, here's why that's genius. It's the same thing he did with Marco Rubio when they were debating against each other for the primary. And he said that Marco sweats too much. If you tell somebody who has a sweating problem that they sweat too much, you've completely ruined their game in public, because that's all they're going to be thinking about.
Trump ruined Marco Rubio's game by bringing up his sweating, and then Trump just ruined Gavin Newsom's game by bringing up his weird hand signals. And now we all get to watch and wonder what will happen next time Gavin Newsom speaks, because what's he going to do with his hands? Is it going to be more controlled or whatever? Is he going to change it, argues Scott Adams. In fact, the weirdest thing of all would be if Gavin Newsom suddenly stopped doing this stuff. If he just put his hands by his side and talked all normal, it would still show that Trump is affecting his campaign and got in his head. So we're going to go into the history of Trump destroying his opponents. Here's Mark. First of all, this is how big of an enemy Marco Rubio was against Trump back when he was campaigning against him in 2016.
Let me tell you something. I will never quit. I will never stop until we keep a con man from taking over the party of Reagan and the conservative movement.
Actually, you will stop when he hires you. Who won that debate? Marco Rubio. I'll never stop this con man.
He's a con man.
Oh, yeah. Get him.
He's a con man.
Here's my boss.
He's a con man. I'll tell you why. Number one, people are angry and frustrated and scared about the future.
No, they're not.
Okay? People are working harder than they've ever worked in their lives, and they're running in place.
Well, we're not afraid of the future anymore because the con man's in charge now, Marco. Marco has become, he just got the biggest job of his life. Thanks to the con man. The biggest opportunity opened Marco Rubio's entire career. Not only that, but Trump put Rubio on a proper foundation so that Rubio now, who he is soaring far above what he ever could have done before. He's a better person, fighter. He represents America. He's out doing more good than ever before, all because of this con man. But wait, here's one of my favorite exchanges. because I thought Trump was just dead when he started going after Jeb Bush. Here he is with the famous Jeb has low energy.
I am not accepting any money from anybody. Nobody has control of me other than the people of this country. I'm going to do the right thing.
You got, according to to what you said on one of the talk shows, you got Hillary Clinton to go to your wedding because you gave her money. Maybe it works for Hillary Clinton. It doesn't work for anybody on this stage.
I was a businessman. I got along with Clinton. I got along with everybody. Yeah. That was my job, to get along with people.
But the simple fact is,
excuse me, 1 second.
No,
I didn't want to
get. You cannot take
more energy tonight. I like that.
Look, I was asked,
and he's already got the audience. He already made low energy Jeb stick. So when Jeb's getting more energetic, Trump goes, more energy tonight. Good.
It was my obligation as a businessman to my family, to
This is body posture, by the way. Look at Jeb Bush looking at him. Trump's not turned to Bush. Trump is turned to the audience, and Jeb Bush is showing Trump is the center.
Company, to my employees, to get along with all politicians. I got along with all of them, and I did a damn good job in doing it. Go ahead.
And then he says, go ahead, and he gives him permission to speak, and then Jeb speaks. That's body language where Trump is exerting control. Jeb, who would have been an okay president, okay, would have gotten the crud kicked out of him by the world, by the left. He's the nervous Republican nerdy past that we've been liberated from forever. That old model, that's the Paul Ryan model, his brother Bush, his dad Bush, Bob Dole, John McCain, John Boehner, those guys, gone. That form of politics is gone. He put the Republicans on a ground so that now we can fight and build and turn mediocre Republicans into a Marco Rubio Kung Fu butt kicker. And we're going to go back to this one. Oh man, this one is so dirty. Trump did this. He said, and he repeated this conspiracy. This is the National Enquirer, by the way. The guy who was the editor was friends of Donald Trump, ran this headline for Trump. Ted Cruz's father is linked to the JFK assassination. He insulted Ted Cruz's dad, saying that he was, and to the conspiracy theorists out there, no, he wasn't. That's a lie. But I'm only saying, Trump loved America so much, he was willing to say this about Ted Cruz. But wait. It gets worse, because fast forward to that time when Trump made fun of Ted Cruz's wife. Ted Cruz, his wife, was called ugly by Donald Trump, endorses Donald Trump. Here we go. Here's Ted Cruz. This is also another interesting argument, because I don't know if I could ever work for a guy that called the beloved Miss TNAPLE ugly. I doubt if I would ever I would probably punch him. I don't know what I would do, but I would not serve him. And I would have this real tough choice with Donald Trump. Would I go work for him and disrespect my wife and possibly lose my country? That's how loyal I am to my family. I might lose my country. Ted Cruz is a patriot and loves his country more than he loves defending his wife's honor. Listen to this incredible endorsement of Donald Trump this year.
And at this point, I believe this race is over. So I am proud to endorse Donald Trump for president of the United States. I look forward to supporting him enthusiastically, because I think it's time for the Republican Party to unite, for us to come together. We've got to beat Joe Biden. We've got to beat this disastrous cultural Marxist agenda in the White House. We've got to retake.
The cultural Marxist agenda in the White House is a bigger threat than him calling your wife ugly. Very interesting argument. I believe this is because Ted Cruz is a true patriot. He loves his country. He knows what was at stake if the cultural Marxists won.
The United States Senate, we've got to hold the House. We got to come together and win. And with the results last night, the people have spoken. It's time to move onward to victory in November.
And not only Ted Cruz, but look, here's Ted Cruz's wife, Heidi. Here's Ted Cruz. Heidi and I had a great time last night having dinner with President Trump at the White House, celebrating passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, this one is interesting, okay? Here's Trump. There's Heidi, his wife, whom Trump said was homely. Look at him hugging her with their big smiles. And not only that, but ironically, not only, did Trump save the Republican Party and the world, but on the One Big Beautiful Bill, he needed Ted Cruz to pass it. Not one Republican. They can't afford any one more person to have fallen out. So Trump goes back and also needs Ted Cruz. You guys tell me in the chat. I'm going to keep going here and make my point a little further with Bill Buckley. What do you think? Should Ted Cruz have held out for his wife's honor and possibly screwed America over? Or did he do the right thing and love his country over even his own, the honor of his own marriage? Now I want to go back because everyone uses William F. Buckley. This is in 1968 where he argued with the liberal feminist Gore Vidal. That's Gore Vidal. So William F. Buckley is considered the father of the modern conservative movement. Period. And William F. Buckley, everyone says like, oh, I wish we could end all this Trump rude, the name calling and the dumb jokes and being mean and just go back to being a gentleman like Bill Buckley. This is Bill Buckley threatening to beat Gore Vidal in the face.
Is too bad, but I assume that for the point of the American democracy,
and some
is you can express any point of view you want. Shut up a minute.
No, I won't.
Shut up a minute.
Some people were pro-Nazi, and the answer is that they were well treated by people who ostracized them, and I'm for ostracizing people who egg on other people to shoot American Marines and American soldiers. I know you don't care.
As far as I'm concerned, the only sort of pro-crypto-Nazi I can think of is yourself. Failing that, I would only say that we can't have
now listen, you
the right of assembly.
Stop calling me a crypto-Nazi.
Let's stop calling names.
You in your goddamn face, and you'll stay plastered.
I'll knock you in the GD face and you'll stay plastered if you call him a crypto-Nazi again. That's William F. Buckley in debate, threatening to punch a guy. Is that correct manners? John McCain, Dole, Paul Ryan, Rubio, Cruz, National Review. I mean, Buckley started the National Review. They're like, this Trump, he talks like an animal. These populists, they're out there with their country music and their tacky red hats and red shirts and the American flag and that dumb dance and YMCA. They're so lowbrow. They're so Waffle House. They're so trailer park. They're so crude. Trump is so crude. Low energy jab and calling Ted Cruz's wife ugly, saying Marco Rubio, calling him sweaty. It is not beyond the pale. In fact, sometimes you got to threaten the other guy by punching him in the face. That's all. But just so you know, the top cream of the crop of all debaters, William F. Buckley, Gore Vidal got in his head and he threatened to punch him. And they say this was the end of modern debate. We have our powdered wig. Remember Jesus, the kindest being, this is God in the flesh, perfect, meek, mild, went into a temple and turned over a table. That is, at that exact moment, because God is immutable, he does not change. At that moment he was turning over that table, he was still the kindest, gentlest, most humble, most peacemaking. At the same time, he turned over a table. He didn't lose his peacemaking character or his kindness. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do to someone is threaten to punch them in the face and they will remain plastered, GD plastered. He said, punch you in the GD face. But wait, there's more, because it wasn't just William F. Buckley. Look, here's my favorite quote from Abraham Lincoln from 1862. Remember when they were all gentlemen, Lincoln, they could debate for an hour and a half or 2 hours straight. Abe Lincoln said he's got his hindquarters where he's got his headquarters where his hindquarters ought to be. In other words, his head was very far up his A. That's Lincoln. Is that playing by the rules? Had his headquarters where his hindquarters ought to be, saying his head was in his ass. Is that a gentleman? Wait, it gets better. This is one of my favorites. This is terrible. Thomas Jefferson against John Adams, the very beginning of our country, one of the greatest quotes ever. Thomas Jefferson said of John Adams, he's a blind, bald, crippled, toothless man who is a hideous, hermaphroditic character with neither the force and fitness of a man, nor the gentleness and sensibility of a woman. Holy smokes. Thomas Jefferson. Guys, Trump's form of argument and mastercraft is something we should all celebrate. I think we need to get over the whole Republicans need a Buckley powdered wig and a beauty mark, dressed up in a Victorian outfit with the knickers, with the socks that go all the way up to the knee. We're riding horses with their little rider's whip in the equestrian event. You guys almost lost the country. You almost turn your kids over to the left, where they'd be forced transing kids, putting people like me in jail for my speech, protecting Islam and Muslims, who would go in and kidnap your kids like they do in Britain. That's what you're gentlemen and not being willing to fight. Thank God Trump's got a mouth on him. Thank God Trump is a bull in a china shop. God used him to save this country from a bunch of whitewashed, fake, Pharisee, love of country. I'm Doug in Exile.